Welcome to episode 173 of The Space in Between. My name's Phoebe Leona. I am your host here today, and I'm calling this episode Keep It Simple. You are the prize. And I have some messages to share around that later on, but I do want to just recognize what's happening in Nomad Land. It's a really exciting time to be in Nomad Land. And if you're listening to this, I hope that you can continue to hang out with us beyond this podcast because we have some really exciting things happening. The last time I was on here, I was telling you all about a global retreat that we just hosted now. We're on the other side of it. However, I'm going to still share the link here for you because you can still benefit from this experience. So let me just share a little bit about what was going on during that week, that weekend that we hosted it. Um, we have some amazing retreat leaders, healers, yoga teachers, life coaches, business coaches that are inside of our community that we meet with every single week. I support them on their endeavors, mostly around hosting retreats, but also other aspects that come up in their soul-based business. And what I was seeing was that the one thing that, and I talked about this last week, is the one biggest challenge that a lot of the people who are here to serve the world and help us transform it during this time and space, um, they have a hard time getting their message out or feeling seen and heard and getting to the right people. And so why we do the space in between is to create a platform so that you, my dear friend who's listening, can connect with me, connect with these amazing leaders that are doing great things in the world, and be that bridge for you all to continue that conversation. And so that was one of our reasons why we wanted to host this global retreat, was to create a transformational experience for you if you are a retreat seeker or just a seeker in general and looking for different resources and tools and teachers that can guide you through the next step of your journey. We wanted to create an actual space for you to experience this transformation if you aren't able to go to the amazing places where we host in Mexico and Bali, and we also have another one coming up in Canada and New York. So if you don't have that time and space to go physically out to place, you can log on and experience it in the comfort of your own home. So we brought together a handful of our nomad guides who are the yoga teachers, the healers, the life coaches, and business coaches. We brought them to you inside of our global retreat, A Journey Inward, so that you could have that live experience with them. Now it's recorded, and get to know them. And what we'll be doing starting next week is we'll be releasing the interviews that we have inside of that container. So my hope is that you get to connect with Lisa and Kena and Kim and some of our others, Marie and Martin, and who else was there? Nancy. And you can get to know them and say, "Oh, I want to have an experience with them." And then you can go and experience their offering inside of that global retreat portal. It's all free. The podcast is free here. This global retreat is completely free here. So, and then what you can also do is get free gifts inside of the portal there that each of the leaders have offered to take you to the next leg. And then you also get to learn a little bit more about their upcoming retreat coming. So it's a win-win-win for everybody. We're winning because we feel that we're making these connections for you, the listener, and for our guides who want you to hear their voice and connect with you so they can better serve you in the world that you're in. And yeah, so we're all winning. We all have these new resources and tools and community to grow from and benefit from. So I have the link in the bio or the story, whatever, the show notes, so that you can definitely follow that. Again, it's absolutely free. And we have lots of other goodies there in the show notes you want to check out. Just in general, we've really up-leveled our offerings so you can get to meet the guides there, the different properties that we're now partnered with in Costa Rica and Mexico and the United States and Bali soon to come. And many, many more will be adding on the rest of this year. So you get to experience what it would be like also to be on a retreat and see where we're going and plan in the future. Oh, I want to go to Casas Kismet in Costa Rica or plan to go to Bean Satva in Bali. So you can start to set that intention and almost think of Nomad as like your personal vision board for travel and for transformation. Yeah, just continue to come back and see all of the upcoming retreats that we have. We do have a number of retreats. Like I said, you can go over there. As I record this, we have a retreat in India and Bali and Mexico, Canada, and I believe New York. Those are the ones that we have up now, and we will be adding more and more as our community grows. We're bringing in new partners who are leading retreats. And yeah, we're here for you, for your own transformational experience. So, with all that said, I want to shift now into our talk today. Keep it simple. You are the prize. And before I talk forward about what that all means, I want to just go back to last week's or the last episode, because if you didn't listen to that, you might want to go back and listen to that and connect with it. But one of the messages I was talking about was this idea of selling yourself. So maybe you're out here, you're connecting on this podcast because you're a soulpreneur, you are a retreat leader or aspiring to be, or thinking about what it might be like to really run your own business. And it doesn't have to be in the wellness transformational realm or spiritual realm. You might just want to have like another service-based business or a product-based business. But maybe not so much product, but the selling yourself when it comes to service-based businesses, this is where it can get a little tricky for a lot of entrepreneurs. This was what I was speaking about last week is, that's what I keep hearing from the people that I work with is that they have a really hard time selling themselves. Energetically, just getting it out there, understanding how to get their message across in a way that feels authentic, but also, what are the tools? How do you physically do that? And, not feel overwhelmed. So I talk a little bit about that. And I really talked about that energetic shift of not thinking about it being as selling yourself, but just being authentic. Where do you shine? How does it feel, when you show up with the people that you're with, when you are getting to serve your community? What is it what is that magic that is just your authentic, your essence that you can take out into the world of, where you're trying to quote unquote sell yourself? How can you bring that essence into that instead of thinking of all the things that you need to do or should do? And that kind of gets in the way of you being authentically you. And then I offered last week a practice that was really super helpful. I'm just doing another shout out to Mind Valley. If you haven't ever taken a Mind Valley course, I highly recommend, highly recommend it. I'm just sharing from the bottom of my heart. It's a resource that has been helpful for me. No endorsement there in terms of they paying me. It's just me speaking freely about how much I adore this program, because one of the practices in the Silva method, I think it was Ultramind Silva method course that the founder Vishen runs. He did this practice about getting to your deepest desires. So I take you through my kind of version of it in last episode. And today I'm actually going to speak about another practice that I did in that course that really shifted my perspective. So we'll get to that. That's my tinfoil story. I'm so excited to tell you about my tinfoil story in a little bit. So, so what we were talking about with that was getting into your why. And I always talk about this in pretty much every episode is getting in alignment with your deepest desires, right? Aligning with your why. And when you're truly aligned with your why, then everything starts to shift and you don't feel out of misalignment and have to go out and sell yourself because you're just being yourself. You're being authentic and you're magnetizing the people that you're here to, to serve and to, to offer the world your gifts. So that brings us here now to my messages for today. So the three messages that I had for this call today or this podcast today is keep it simple. You are the prize and the power of your perspective. So keep it simple. Yesterday, we were on a Nomad Guides call. It was a smaller call. One of the participants, one of our guides, she said, I really need to sit down and have like a one-on-one session with you, Phoebe, because I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I haven't been doing it. I get super distracted and I just need to figure out how to create structure and form so that I'm not all over the place and doing all of the things. And so my message to her is, and I'm just going to, when I sat down and shared what my insight for that, and I'm sharing here with you, is to just keep it simple, right? Just maybe there are three different strategies that you need to do, and they would move the needle forward. Just choose one instead of trying to do all three at one time. Just choose one. And I say, choose the one that's going to light you up even the most, right? So if you love, sharing your voice, sharing your meditations, then find a platform that is going to benefit, that gift that you have, like Insight Timer, right? Or if you love being, able to connect with people and have, this kind of connection with a video and voice, maybe you start a podcast, right? Or maybe you do something on YouTube, right? Because you love being on camera. You know that you're good on camera. You can connect. People see you. They see that you're authentic, right? So you can find that strategy that works for you on YouTube. So we don't need to do all of those things. And I'm saying this like because I did this so many times where I listed all of the things. Okay, I want to be consistent with, sharing meditations every single week. And I want to show up on social media 5 times a week. And I want to do this. And it was like super overwhelming. But just keep it simple. Find one, get it to be a well-oiled machine, let it light you up. And then maybe you can add one more thing. And I'm using social media as just an example. This is anywhere else that you are in your world, right? All of the things that you're doing at home, you need to like clean your house, do the dishes, make dinner, take the kids all over the place, right? Find the one thing that you like, only one or two things on your list that that you can accomplish in that day instead of all the other 500 things that you think you should do that day, right? This is why I love handwriting my planner. I just write like, what are the 2 or 3 tasks that I know I need to get done? I know I'm very well aware that there's like 60 other things that I should probably be doing. But if I get those 2 tasks done, then I can get to those other things and with effort, like with ease, right? So put the things like, what is your priority? What are those 1 or 2 tasks, or maybe 3 if you have the time that you want to get done, you need to get done. And then when you have that time and space, you can go to the list of the others, right? And then other things might get moved, but just keep it simple. Try not to do all of the things. The other thing, and so this is one of the biggest messages before I go on to the next one, is to go back to that the list. So if you did the exercise last week with the deepest desires, this is something that I have been doing since I did that. Was okay. So I'll just briefly take it through you, so for you if you didn't do it. So we write a list of our deepest desires. What do we want? The growth, like who do you have to become or what do you need to do in order to move that needle forward to get closer to what you want? And then the third column is your contribution, your why, essentially. How do other people benefit from your deepest desire? And so the moral of that story is when you connect others to it, things start to move at a quicker rate because you have energetically have onboarded other people that are, it's not just about you selfishly wanting this deepest desire, but it's like, okay, I'm becoming somebody even better. I'm up leveling myself, and other people are going to benefit from it. So what I have done with keeping it simple, as I was saying, is I look at that second column. Who do I need to become? What do I need to do? And so when I'm looking at those tasks of all of the things, right, of checking things off the list, and I should be on this social media platform, I should be sending these emails, I look at, well, what's the most in alignment with who do I need to become or what do I need to do, right, to get to the deepest desires and make a contribution to the world, right? Because it's in the middle of those two. And so if there's something that's not necessarily in alignment with that, who I need to become or what do I need to do, right? Then it might move down lower on the list, or it might come off of the list completely because it's like, oh, it's not necessary. I don't actually need to do that because it's not in alignment with my deepest desires and how I want to contribute to the world, right? So this is one way of eliminating things and keeping it uh, in alignment with your deepest desires and the contribution you want to make to the world. It will help you simplify what you want and how you want to create it, and again, align you with your why. Okay, so the next thing that I want to share is this whole thing about you are the prize. So there's a show, it was I don't even know how long ago this show was on, New Girl. And I just remember there was I like would binge watch the show New Girl. And I don't even remember all of the characters' names, but the girl was Jess. Yeah. And she had, a number of roommates, all men, and they all played these different kinds of roles for her in her life, like to support her and grow. And it was, mutual. There was, a lot of reciprocity there. But, it's a funny show. And there's one episode in particular that I think Jess was, putting herself out there, dating again. And there's this one roommate in particular who's kind of like full of himself and kind of, you know, he just seems very self-centered and not really caring about her, but they have this beautiful connection where he's like watching her. He's like watching her going out with one idiot after another and putting up with all of these things that like she was just like sitting by on the sidelines and being like, why are you putting up with that? And he had this just like sweet little talk to her, and he's like, remember, Jess, you are the prize. These guys, they should be lucky to have you. And this was, that little mantra of you are the prize came into my consciousness a couple of weeks ago, because what I was finding is I was catching myself, and I was finding this in conversations with the people that I serve, my nomad community, where people were like chasing after the people that they want to help. They were just like, I just want to help people, and they're not awake to it. Yeah. And they have like these closed fists, like, oh my God, like I'm here to serve the world and people are not paying attention. And I kind of sat back and I was witnessing them and the conversations they were having in our circle. And I was watching myself too, because I was feeling like that. I've said this before, like I truly believe that the healers are the new leaders of the paradigm, this new paradigm that we're shifting into right now. But we have to be in our power. This is what I talked about last week, is we have to be in our power. And so when we're not in our power, we're in this chasing after. We're kind of like Jess, like, oh, I just want to get that client or that thing, because we're also in that place of scarcity about, you know, the money or the impact I'm making. I'm not making a big enough impact or whatever it might be, right? And so that's like driving you into that chasing energy, right? So Jess, the new girl, she was in this chasing energy because she wanted a relationship so bad that she was just going to settle for any loser that was like taking her out and kind of treating her crappy, right? And so her roommate was like, you are the prize, right? Step into that power that you are the prize. And I'm saying this in a very humble way, right? Especially if you are here And this is kind of the downfall of us who are here to serve the world and to help transform through this paradigm shift, is that we use this word of service, or I'm just a servant, right? To help, right? I'm here to serve the world. And there's energetically, it turns into like servant energy. And it's like, oh, I'm just here to whatever you need, right? It turns into that chasing energy. And it actually takes us out of our power, right? I'll do anything in order for you to come into my community. I'll do anything just so that you pay attention to me, right? Like Jess, right? So we actually step out of the power when we actually need to be in our power. And remember, we are the prize, again, from a humble place, right? I have a gift. I have wisdom. I have knowledge. I have an expertise in something that maybe somebody else could use, right? And so to remember that you are the prize, you have these gifts that will actually help you realign again with who you are, what you offer the world, and help magnetize the people that you are actually truly here to serve, right? If you're in this sort of chasing energy and like settling for whoever just shows up, they're not going to fully appreciate you, right? I've had these conversations about like, for business owners, giving all your stuff away for free. Yeah, it's good to a certain point. So like this, like the podcast is free. Like I'm showing up every day, right? In some way, and I'm giving things for free, showing up on social media, sharing some tips or my story, you know, Facebook lives in our Facebook community. But then there's like a point where it's like, okay, if you want more of this, right? I have more knowledge. I'm stepping into my power. And now it's your turn, right? To return that reciprocal energy, right? If you want to step into your power and learn what I have to offer you, then you will make that commitment to yourself, right? You'll make that investment for yourself. And then we can have that reciprocal relationship where we exchange that energy, that resource, right? And so that you can up level, right? And so I think what has happened, and we had a little bit of a conversation, it went off in a different tangent, but we had a little bit of this conversation in our guides call too, is, when we're always giving everything away for free, it's depleting. It can be depleting. And so we have to find a way to step back into our power, right? And really hold that. Um, I've talked a lot about this, about like the yoga community. I've been a part of it for 20 years. The business model just, it's crumbled. There used to be, so when I first started Nomad, we would host local communities, local community events. And our very first one started from this idea of the yoga community being disempowered. And what I mean by that, and I won't go into all the details, but I had a company, Nomad, who was not a brick and mortar. So I was what they called Switzerland, because there were all these yoga studios that I taught at. I taught at 10 yoga studios. And I was going to all these 10 yoga studios, and they were seeing me as Switzerland because I was teaching at all of them. I had a business, but I wasn't a competition to them. So they were confiding in me about, this person stole their students. They went across the street and, opened up a studio. And what I was witnessing was, well, yeah, the business model of a yoga studio is not set up for success for the long term. Yeah, for the short term, where you open up a studio, you have your students, you want to create more income, you lead a yoga teacher training, you train your students to become yoga teachers. But then this is where the problem is. All those people want to be yoga teachers. You don't have jobs for all those yoga teachers. You already have a staff. So some people, there's a percentage that just wanted to do that to deepen their practice and to learn and understand and grow. Some of them might just have wanted to enhance something else that they were doing. And so they're just adding it into more of like their one-on-ones or something. And then there's a good handful of people who are like, oh, I'm going to make this my career. I'm going to become a yoga teacher. Can I teach here? And now they're new yoga teachers. So the yoga studio owners like, yeah, sure. Because I don't want to pay the expert teacher who's been teaching for 20 years and demands, $100 or more per class. I could just teach you or I could just pay you new student who just graduated from my teacher training. I could just pay you like $20, right? And so the level of the quality of teachers went down. But then those students who became your yoga teachers are now teaching. They're now seeing, oh, I'm only getting paid like $20 or $30 or maybe a little bit more, but I could actually move across the street and have my own yoga studio. And so that's what was happening when I started these local community events, because there were what we joked about was it was yoga wars, that everybody was leaving the studios and opening up their own studio across the street, or, you know, at the other end of town. And it was creating a lot of dissonance in the community. And so one of my mentors at the time, she said, "You are Switzerland. You need to bring us together again." And so I hosted our first local event on the in the Hudson Valley on the Hudson River at Long Dock Park in 2015, summer solstice of 2015. And that year we had 10 yoga studios and 100 people participated. By the end of that, we finished off in 2018 to show like how much that yoga community grew. We had 26 yoga studios participate, and we had over 300 people show up and participate. So we over doubled the amount of yoga studios. And then following, I was starting to see already like things were shutting down very rapidly after that year. A lot of yoga studios were starting to shut down because there were too many. It was oversaturated. And then COVID hit, and then a lot of other studios shut down. So I tell you all this because what happened was that the studio owners became disempowered. They were just trying to, get by, and like from a place of maybe greed or scarcity of like, oh, I need to make more money. I need to make more money. Those new teachers who went over and opened their studio, they were coming from that, right? And they were moving in this place of being disempowered, right? It disempowered a lot of people, and it disempowered me as an expert yoga teacher. Now it's like I can't even get work because, I am the prize. I knew I had a lot to offer, but studios didn't want to necessarily pay me. They didn't value what I offered at that point. So because they could also just pay somebody that they just taught for a lot less. So there was, and we're talking about this a little bit in a different relationship to breath work, and how that whole community has been disempowered. And so what we want to look at is how can we bring our healers who are here to usher us into this new paradigm, who are the leaders, right? How do we bring them back into our power? How do we create that sense of community again, to remember that we're all here to support each other and to support the transformation of our world, right? So I think it really does begin with this place of, yes, being in service, but not a servant, right? Knowing your gifts, knowing that you are the prize, knowing you have an expertise, and standing truly in that place and not wobbling or wavering, knowing what you are bringing to this world and how you can support others. And you can do this in a place of bartering, right? You can barter expertise with other people. It doesn't have to be literally money exchange, but it could be, an energetic exchange in some way. But to not give away everything, right? From this place of disempowerment, to find whatever you make, that whatever choice that you do make, it's remembering that you are the prize. It's not just giving it away, right? From this disempowered place. So that is my second message, right? Keep it simple, and you are the prize. And my last little story I want to share with you is the power of perspective. So I'm going to call this the tinfoil story, or aluminum foil story. So going back to this course that I've been taking on Mind Valley, about the Silva method. I think it's Ultra Mind Silva method. one of the practices is projection into metals. And the purpose of this practice is to adjust your compass, to adjust your own compass. And so I truly feel like for the pandemic, for myself and for a lot of people that I work with, we've all felt disempowered in so many different ways. I mean, everybody, I'm not just saying like the people in the healing community and transformation and in service, but everybody has been discombobulated. We don't know what's up and down, right and left. And I still think 4 years later, we're still finding our ground, right? And so when you're in that place of chaos, which we were all in, a state of trauma, right, which we were all in, right? It was unpredictable. It felt unsafe for a period of time, right? We didn't have control over certain things. So these are the qualities of a traumatic experience. So we were all suffering to some level in the midst of the chaos, feeling this like, I don't know who to trust or even to trust my own intuition at this point. And so a practice like this, what I'll tell you about the projection into the metals, it's kind of like realigning your compass, like you said, like realigning your own, recognizing your own power and your own perspective again. So I'm not going to go into all of the details, but the overall practices is that you have a certain amount of metals. It's brass and aluminum foil and copper. And I don't remember what the other one was. Silver, maybe? Yeah, sterling silver. And you kind of study each of them. And I'm just going to zoom in on the aluminum foil because that's what the story is about. So I remember when I was doing this, I was studying, you had to go and get, a metal and study it and look at it and smell it and taste it or not taste it necessarily, but like, what would it taste like? Or like, what's the texture? How heavy is it? So getting into really identifying and connecting with this metal. And so at that time, we're just moving into a new place here. We hadn't gone and get like all the staples like aluminum foil, but there was some leftover food in the freezer that had been wrapped in aluminum foil. So I was like, okay, I'll go get that. So I go and I get the aluminum foil that's like had been wrapped. It was in the freezer and make it into the ball. And I'm like studying it and looking at it. And as yet I'm putting it into the ball, I'm also like recognizing the texture of it as I'm doing it. And I just kind of remember like, oh, okay, yeah, it's like, kind of dull, a little flimsy. It feels like kind of delicate. So I'm, thinking about what that is. Go into the next step is the meditation where you're now not looking at it and feeling it and having that interactive experience, but you're actually like becoming it and being with it. And so I was projecting an image of the aluminum foil and seeing it again and kind of redesigning that whole experience of the aluminum foil. And so then, went off with my day, didn't do that exercise again, whatever. A couple days later, went to, grocery store, got the aluminum foil, all the staples that you need in a new home. And I like went to go use it for something. I was like, whoa, this aluminum foil is like strong. It's really durable. And then just like really kind of caught my attention. I was like, oh, this just must be the brand. And it's like a new brand or I don't know. I didn't really think too much, but it just like did catch my attention. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. A week or so later, went to go visit my grandmother, had to go wrap aluminum foil and something else, and was like, whoa, hers is like that too. It's so weird. It's just like kind of hard and like strong and stay durable. And oh, this is just, I was just like, they must be making aluminum foil different now. And then another like couple days later, I go and I can't sit at a place that I'm always staying at. Same thing, go get her aluminum foil out for something else. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. All the aluminum foils, it's like overnight, they just completely all got stronger and more durable and even a little bit shinier than I remembered. I'm like, oh, that's weird. So last night, before I recorded this, I was sitting on the couch with my boyfriend and we were talking about, I don't remember exactly how we went down this rabbit hole, but we got to the conversation around string theory. And there's a whole situation. If you don't know about it, the Berenstain Bear, like string theory is how do you, you ask the question of how do you spell Berenstain Bears if you know of it, right? And most people, will respond a certain way. I'm not going to tell you because I won't reveal which universe I'm in. But the theory is that there are certain people that spell it a certain way, and we're like all from the same like universe that just got like plopped into this universe where actually if you go and Google the way that you actually spell Berenstain Bears, it's completely different than what all of our like memory had it. It's like, oh, not really something that you think too much about. I mean, I never really cared about the Berenstain Bears, but when, my cousin years and years ago brought this up, I was like, oh yeah, let's go look. And like, anyways, so we got into this conversation around the string theory. And I was like, oh, you know what? I think that I'm in a new universe now. I think I'm in a different like tinfoil universe because all of a sudden, like overnight, all of the aluminum foil has just changed. So we were like joking about this. And I was like, oh, yeah, what's happening in that universe versus the old universe with the other tinfoil? And we were like joking about it, went to sleep. And then in the middle of the night, I woke up and I was like, oh my goodness, this is the this is the Silva method. That I don't physically know if the manufacturers started to make aluminum foil completely different over a period of a month or two. But what I did recognize was that my perspective to the aluminum foil changed. That first time when I was sitting with it, I was noticing it was like a little bit weaker. It's like easy to tear. It was kind of dull. Yeah, it was maybe because it was old and it was sitting in a freezer for a long time. But all of a sudden I was noticing how it was changing, right? And so that whole point of the practice was to align you back, right, in your compass, right? To shift your perspective, to see that things can actually change, right? Just by your perspective shifting. So I may have never noticed that tinfoil changed, right? But this practice helped me tune into that, the differences, right? To see the evidence. And so this is what I'm inviting all of you into is what is it that you're looking at through this sort of old paradigm, right? Of not necessarily literally aluminum foil, but maybe there's a relationship or a situation or a challenge that you're looking at. How can we start to shift and start to see, truly see the evidence, right? By changing and aligning your compass. Yeah, getting you back on what is actually real and true. And then starting to see the evidence that it is shifting, right? Starting to see the stronger, more durable aluminum foil in your presence. Maybe because we're attached, right? I'm not attached to aluminum foil. I had never thought about it before, but all of a sudden I was witnessing these changes, right? But when we have these attachments, especially to relationships or the challenges that we have, I always talk about the death grip. Like if I ever wanted something, if I desired something and I claimed it, I would give it this death grip. And it was like always looking around for the evidence, but I was almost kind of looking around for the evidence of it not working out, right? Always waiting for the shoe to drop. So when I stopped to let go of it, I didn't have attachment to it. That's when the energy, right? Everyone I'm sure knows enough about the art of manifestation and the art of the law, I should say, the law of manifestation, the law of resonance, right? When you actually start to shift your perspective and believe, like fully believe in it, and with this death grip, right? Like I didn't go around going, I believe aluminum foil is going to be stronger and more durable. I was just like, oh, that's interesting, right? There was no emotional attachment to it. But then I just started to witness these things. So how can we approach all of our relationships and all of our challenges, these obstacles that we deal with every day that we just want to like, see the evidence. How can we approach it like the tinfoil, right? Like, oh, okay, it's like this. This is the challenge that I'm dealing with right now. I'm taking the actions, right? This is why the desires and who do I need to become and the contribution, where you look at that and you soak it in every day. And it's like, yeah, I'm on track with that. And now, oh, I'm starting to see some things change here and there. I will say every day I look at that, list for myself, I see the evidence of like, oh yeah, I see that I'm stepping into my power again. I see, right, I'm aligning my compass again. So that's my invitation for you here is to remember to stand back in your power. You've got to keep it simple. Try not to do all of the things. Just find one that's going to light you up so that you remember that you are the prize. You have an expertise that no one else has because it's you might have knowledge that other people can get maybe from Google, but the way that you share it with the world is uniquely you. It's authentically you, right? And as you align that compass again, you will start to see the tinfoil and all the other things that you're aligning with are shifting. Your perspective with it shifts. So all the evidence is there and things start to move at a beautiful pace. So that is my message for you, my dear friend. If you have a deepest desire within yourself, you don't have to do a whole lot. Just keep it simple. Remember that you are the prize in the most humble way, right? See your gifts, see who also you want to become. So as you move forward into that place of empowerment, what other aspects of yourself can you become and get to do every day so you can get your deepest desires and get your contributions and see all the evidence, be grateful for all the magic that is unfolding to help you keep you in alignment with your compass. All right. That was a lot, just bringing a lot of dots together. Sit with that. I hope that that was benefit for you and where you are today. Let me know. I would love to hear. Did you connect with any of those messages or stories? Always love to hear from you. Feel free to review us, subscribe, share this with a friend. If you know somebody who's out there who really wants to, do good in the world, but has a little bit of that death grip and you see them just like, oh, not standing in their power, feeling like they keep hitting their head against a wall, right? They need to shift their perspective a little bit or maybe simplify things. Send this message to them, send this podcast to them. I would be very grateful for you to be that bridge for them and let it, yeah, I think I told you all the things and just continue to hang out with us here in the podcast. Starting next week, we will be introducing you to our new guides in the community. Each week, we'll have one of those interviews that came from our global retreat. And I do highly recommend come join us at the global retreat. Again, the link will be here so you can go back and have the recorded experiences with them, get a taste of it, get some new resources to release some old stories of worry and grief of your old self, transform your body, your mind, your soul, and experience the celebration of being free in your breath and your body. Those were all the sessions that we held within our container of a journey inward that I hope that you can benefit from. So I'll see you very soon. I'll talk to you very soon, however you're experiencing this, and have a beautiful, beautiful day.